All right. Hello, everyone out there in Facebook. Welcome to episode 10 of WTF Window Treatment Friday. But today, we're going to call it Awning Friday.
Ooh, the AATF.
Yes, there we go. All right. So welcome. For those of you who don't know me, I am Kim. I'm from WindowWorks, and today we have a very special guest and a treat here. We have JC Rocha. He is our awning sales rep because today we are going to be discussing everything awning. So if you're in the New Jersey or New York area, we would be happy to help you and outfit your backyard and really set you up for the summer.
And I'll introduce myself. I'm Vida Vygovska. I'm the owner of Vitalia Inc., Window Treatments and Awnings now. And if you are in the Philadelphia area, we are happy to help you out on your decorating and window treatment and awning projects. We work exclusively to the trade on the window treatments. And now that we have awnings and the support and the hand-holding of JC and WindowWorks, we are that much more equipped to help you on all of your projects. So make sure to reach out to us on any kind of support that you guys need in the Philadelphia area. And so without further ado, here is our first picture.
Okay. So with this first picture, this was a project that we did a couple of years ago. And I'm just going to set up the premise here, and then JC's going to kind of take it over to talk technical side and things like that. So this client here, as you can see, they have two sets of sliding glass doors. One was in the kitchen and one was in the dining room. So they wanted to be able to not only shade a majority of the width of their patio, but they also wanted to get shade for the inside of their home. So with this particular awning was the one that we had to go with. And JC, tell us why we had to go for that one.
First of all, thank you for having me, ladies. Long-time listener of the show, big fan. So this is
making us out like celebrities. Like Kim, we're gonna whoop whoop. Let's do a little dance.
So this system is one of our girthier, bigger systems. So you may not tell the difference looking at it close up, but the arms, the shoulders, everything about this is stronger. It's engineered to actually have more of a weight. This actually has a projection of a maximum of 15 feet 11 inches, which is a huge scale project. The width in this project, I believe, was between 20 and 30 feet as well. So it actually covers the entire deck to its capacity. Now, it's very important to realize that with these awnings that they don't have posts coming down. So all of the weight and all of the tension is actually in the wall on the torsion bar. So I always tell people this in person that if you hold the broom like this all day, you never get tired. But holding a broom out with your arms stretched out, eventually you'll start to waver. So in this particular system, because it has to be engineered and has to be stronger to actually have that kind of projection, longer lasting, and hold up to the elements as well.
JC, is there a name for this?
So this is our Triumph model. So because of the projection and the distance, it actually is the best priced model for this expanse.
Very interesting.
Luann has joined us on Facebook. Hey, Lou.
Hi, Luann. This looks really pretty awesome, and to have you said 16, almost 16 feet out, JC,
almost 16 feet, yes.
And almost 20 feet across. I mean, that is some significant shading area right there.
Right.
Yeah, I believe this one was a little wider than 20. I think it was anywhere between like 24 and 30. So
wow.
Like that's the nice part about this product is if you have a big patio out there, if your clients have a big patio out there and they want to shade a large portion of their deck, which this client wanted, that's what they wanted to achieve. That's when you would go to this product, the Triumph here. If they wanted a retractable system. We're also going to get into other types of things that we can do to shade large scale parts of your patio, but that's further in the presentation.
Okay. So since you mentioned the word retractable, JC, would you give us kind of a definition of what that means in the awnings world?
So just simply put, the retractable awning is for when you need it. Everything that we do is white glove. It's custom to the expectations of the customer. So in these situations, you want a perfect day, at a click of a button, it comes back and you can enjoy the beautiful day. If it's too hot, too sunny, too anything, you can bring it out in shade to your likings. The beautiful part is also if you have some family member that wants to sit in the sun and you want the shade, it doesn't have to be completely extended or completely retracted. You can actually make it fit in the space that you want.
So did I understand you correctly? It can retract or extend out partially?
Exactly. You can go halfway, or like if you want to cover just like the first set of chairs on the table versus leaving the other ones out in the open, you can do it however you want to set your patio lifestyle up.
We have clients sometimes that will just push it out, even just to get like how they wanted shade on the inside of the house. So they'll push it out only like 2 or 3 feet, because it also, not only does it work for the outside, it works for the inside of the house too, if they wanted to just shade a part of the kitchen
and all of that is at a click of a button. So essentially you have a remote and you click for it to extend out, then you click stop, and it stops wherever you want it to stop, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, wonderful. Tell us more about this picture.
So this picture here is the Elite.
This is the Elite. And hold on, we had one question. Manuela had a question. We do have pictures, Manuela. I can DM you pictures or email you pictures of the awning in the closed position, so you can see it. And lead time, what are we running lead time on awnings?
4 to 6
About
weeks.
4 to 6 weeks right now. So here's just an example real quick before we move on of the remote. So this is, the out, the in, and then the stop. So you're able to really just, you have total control of the awning. So it's not like you just hit a button and it goes out and then that's it. So you could really stop it really wherever you want to stop it.
And it's also customizable.
Yes.
So the center button is the stop button, but it also has a double feature. I can actually set it to be what your favorite setting would be. So if your favorite setting is 3/4 of the way open, at a click of a button, it just goes right to that setting, and then you can actually make it go further out or retract from that point as well.
So this remote, as I'm looking at it, this is a Somfy remote,
Correct.
and that's what we use for some of our roller shades inside. Yes. And also for motorized tracks for draperies. So for those interior designers familiar with motorization on the inside of the house, this is the exact same remote.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, we here at the showroom, we had to actually label ours. It's backwards to say awnings because we have motorized roller shades as well. So sometimes if we grab the wrong one and we're trying to do a roller shade display, the awning is moving. So we're like, you know what? Let's just label them to make it a little easier. But yeah, so that's the other great thing. Yep.
Nice.
So yes, this is the Elite that we
did. In the picture you're looking at now, you have the Elite, which is the same engineering scope. So it's not just hollow arms. They're actually engineered to actually take suspension and wind thrusts. But this one model is not as big as the one we just saw. So this one has a maximum projection of 13 feet 6 inches. So like when I say that we're customizable and white glove, we try to pick the best unit or product for the space that you require. So there's no reason to put a Triumph on everything. If you can do it with an Elite, you have the same amount of sunshade and coverage, but you don't have to go all the way up to the 15-foot mark. You can do it at 13.6.
And let's talk about. Oh, go ahead, Vita. You had a question.
So in other words, if I understand this, see now I'm in the seat where I'm definitely learning, and some of it is new information. So it's good to be in this place. My kid's karate teacher says that you should always be a white belt in something.
Yeah.
In other words, it's like there's always something where you need to be learning so that you remember what it felt like before you became expert in your area. So now I'm sort of in the same shoes as perhaps some of our designers when we teach them things about window treatments. So it's kind of it's a different role, and I'm liking it.
It's exciting, right?
It is actually. I'm like, I get to be a student. So if I'm understanding your previous statement correctly, for a smaller coverage, there's no need to go with Triumph that are more highly engineered, even though they may
Exactly.
provide smaller sizes, but we don't need to over-engineer a smaller size, and therefore you will go with a different model that is just as good for that smaller coverage with maybe not lesser materials in terms of quality, but lesser materials in terms of the size and the weight that they need to support.
Which also translates into a better price point.
Budget.
Yep.
So also with this one too, that it's a little hard because I know the pictures are a little small, but unlike this one here, the Elite has an open hood. So in other pictures that we're going to show you where the fabric tube is concealed, this one, the fabric tube is exposed. So you have the hood that's covering it, and then so you can see it.
And what I also want to point out here is the fabric kind of coordinates with the color of the house. So, so that means that we have custom fabrics, and usually they're Sunbrella. And again, our designers familiar with the Sunbrella fabrics, and you know, the books that are this thick of the different colors and slightly different textures, and there are some patterns there as well. So, JC and Kim, correct me if I'm wrong here, but we are able to match or coordinate at least our fabrics to the color of our buildings.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, with the hardware too, right?
Yes. So the hardware that you're seeing as well has different colors that are powder-coated aluminum, so the aluminum will not rust. And the powder coating you can have in the beach and still have the color be persistent for time to come. In design, obviously, you guys have a much better handle on that. But I always tell people with awnings, you either want it to be subdued and blend into the environment. Like in this picture, we have a lot of earth colors, or you want it to pop. So like Silica Caribbean is the most popular color for people that have pools because it is a bright blue, textured, rich color, but people want it to pop because they want it to be either a talking point or to blend in with the environment.
That's a really great tip there, JC.
Okay, so this one here is a profile shot of the cassette concealed, or the semi-cassette.
So right here we have the Bella semi-cassette awning. Now, what Kim mentioned in the Elite picture is it had a protective hood. Now, the protective hood is really close to the tube. It is on top of protecting the fabric and the motor from the environment and when it's retracted. Now, in this situation, you have a semi-cassette where it is actually, when the awning retracts, the front bar and the cassette join. So there is no seam and there's no little bit of gap. People love this for aesthetic purposes, obviously, because it actually has kind of like an eye-bar look to it. So it's very much more concealed and put out of the way when it's retracted. The other aspect that this provides in areas that are heavily wooded with a lot of birds is this eliminates the ability for birds to nest in or around the system.
That's pretty funny that we have to worry about stuff like that. You know, I mean, with Kim and I being mostly on the indoors, we really don't think about birds and elements. But when you go on the outside, I mean, you really, that's an actual problem, you guys. It's not something made up.
I know that I can speak from experience because coincidentally, my parents bought their awning from Window Works back in 2002. So way before I started working here, and at the time, the Elite was really like the top of the game. So the birds are a problem. You can get them nesting in. Between my father and Carlos, they figured out a way to keep the birds out. But yeah, it's definitely something that you want to consider. So especially in high wooded areas.
Yeah. Now the Elite, by comparison, and hopefully your parents don't get upset, but in 2002, the Elite was a little bit different in design than it is now.
Right.
So now the gap in the Elite between the roller tube and the hood is really, really small. Now, I will never say that it eliminates bird nesting there, but it is less frequent. But if you have an area where it's like, listen, there's just a lot of birds or a lot of woods, then going with the cassette or semi-cassette would probably be the way for you. And a lot of my customers or clients, they like the cassette look because it's just cleaner. It like fits on the house. It just has a cleaner look. And a lot of people don't like the valance look as much. They just want something that's clean and useful. So when you click the button, it produces versus just sitting there and being decorative on the wall.
And would it be accurate if I were to equate the cassette for the awnings to the cassette to for the roller shades on the inside, just kind of
Yes.
to sort of give our listeners and the designers some perspective. So
Yeah.
if so on the indoors inside the windows, when we put up roller shades, we can either have the open roll look and you can see the brackets and you can see the roll kind of open essentially, or if you wanted to conceal that and make it a little bit more streamlined and cleaner, you can either put a fascia or you can put a fabric covered cassette. And so I'm assuming this is what this kind of does. It protects, and it's also good for the aesthetics.
Correct.
Awesome. And also one other question.
Sure,
For the cassette, we talked about powder coating it, so we can also custom powder coat it to the color of the house too. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, of course. The entire frame, the hood or the cassette, and the arms that retract the awning itself are aluminum and can be powder coated to match.
So there's certain standard colors, and then there's certain custom colors.
Exactly.
Yeah, we had a client a couple years ago, I want to say 10 years ago, that she wanted it like deep, like black to match her patio furniture. So we did a powder coated in like a specific black that her and her designer ended up picking out. But yeah, so it can be done.
Yep. Good to know. As it can be done for the inside as well. We've actually have done custom color powder coating of the fascia on the inside, inside shades.
Yeah, if there's a will, there's a way. That's what I always say.
Okay.
Okay.
Moving on.
So this one is a very, very interesting project. This is a pool house, and one of the first things I do every time I get to somebody's house is I have an app on my phone that tells me exactly where the sun tracks, where and specifically what month. So in May, I'm looking for June because that's kind of when it's going to be used the most, and obviously July and August. So in this particular case, the sun was coming down west was to the left of the picture, or in the foreground of the picture. So what we ended up doing was making a custom fabric to actually shield the sun from the people that would be underneath the awning, because obviously at noon, the sun's completely overhead. But as it sets, I call it the laser light at 5:30, 6 o'clock, it could, depending on where your house is facing, the sun could dip underneath the awning. So we actually have products like this. And if it were in front facing, we have a drop valance on the awning itself that would prevent that and further extend the lifeline of your party, your even just your dinner with your family, so that you're not like, okay, I'm blind, I have to go inside. And these kind of things help that 5:30 to 6:30, 7:30 hour.
So JC, help me understand. Is it's a flat curtain? Am I seeing it right? And so how is it hung up? How does it stay flat but also erect like that?
So this is completely custom. So this particular panel, they wanted it to be a put it up on hooks. So it has a hook on the wall and it has a hook on the arm. And they actually are okay with it being folded up and put away when they're not using it. Another project that we've done actually operates on pulleys or on like a drapery with a tie back. So it actually has kind of an aesthetic feel to it, even when it's not being used.
Okay, so in other words, what they need to do is before they retract the awning, they have to take one hook off, the other hook off, fold it whichever way, they put it away, and then they retract the awning.
In this scenario, 100%. In other scenarios, the actual fabric folds as the awning comes back, and then you can actually just tie it back like a drape.
Yeah, and then in that scenario, what we've done is we created a tie back out of the same material. So it all just looks cohesive with it. So it all matches. Or if you want to do a contrast, again, it's custom.
So in this case,
did
you have the vendor create that flat panel, or did you order the fabric and had your workroom sew it?
We had the vendor did it.
The vendor did this one.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of the
and there's
time
a weight
they
at
have
the bottom.
Capabilities and to do that. Yeah. Yes, this one has weights at the bottom.
Nice. Very nice. And so talk to us about the size of this awning and the coverage area.
If I'm not mistaken, I think this one is, I think that's a Triumph as well.
Yes.
So we're getting right to that 15-foot, 11-inch mark. But it is one of the situations that we had to custom the side panel to eliminate that glazing sun on the side. But yeah, this is a big, the big daddy awning.
Yeah, big guy.
The big one. And when you give us those names, are they collection names, or are they vendor names or brand names? How do we help me understand that part?
So these are names that Durasol has given the different awnings. So it all depends on whatever vendor manufacturer you're dealing with. So it typically, if you're talking names, I would, in this case, I would talk size. So if you're new or to the whole awning game, or if you're in terms of designers, you would just say, I'm looking to cover a patio, 24 feet by 15 feet. So then the awning sales rep would know exactly, okay, this is the product, the correct product. It's the same way like when you're dealing with window treatments. Customer isn't always going to know, or client isn't always going to know the technical term for a honeycomb shade, because every vendor, Hunter Douglas and, Comfort Tex and every which one in between, has a different name for a honeycomb shade. So it all depends on the size. I would start with size first and back it up that way.
Yep. So for those designers listening to us, really the message that you need to take away is, number one, think about the outdoors as you're decorating. Number two, think about awnings as you're decorating the outdoors. And number three is, you really don't need to be the experts in the specifications and the vendor names and, all the engineering of it by any means, as you don't have to be the experts in window treatments if you use either one of us. Here, all you need to know is that it can be covered. We can provide that shading, and you just need to tell us what kind of area you're trying to provide, and we will take care of the rest.
Perfect.
Yeah. Here you go.
The genius.
Oh, this is exciting.
Yes, this is JC's fit. This is like you trying to talk about drapery hardware. So take it away.
In every previous example we've already seen, the awning is suspended by what I mentioned, the torsion bar. So they're designed for sun, 100% for sun. They can take light wind and they can take light rain, but by no means are they waterproof. There's a big distinction between waterproof and water resistant, almost like Las Vegas blackout and room darkening. So that is a big discrepancy in the inside, but it's even bigger here on the outside. So this is a genius modeled retractable awning. This actually has posts, because this is going to be a drip dry project. In other words, if you go outside in a monsoon and you want to sit outside on your table and have coffee, you're more than welcome to do so. And you will be dry and you can enjoy the rain as it comes. I had a client who said, I love having dinner outside in the rain. And this is the project for them.
Very interesting.
Completely powder coated, completely waterproof, motorized just like the other awning, retractable at a click of a button, and completely, essentially making an outside room without actually building onto your house to that extent.
Yeah, so what the first picture, what we had on the first slide was the roof completely retracted towards the retracted open. So now this is showing the roof completely retracted closed to give you that, that rain and sun protection that JC was just speaking of.
Okay, I have like a million questions. I'm like
Please.
dying
Take
to
it
start
away.
somewhere, but I only ask a couple because
before you start,
we'll be here forever.
Before you start, this application has amazing residential and commercial applications. So what we're seeing right here is a model that's designed. It's a little more sleeker in design. The parameters are a little bit smaller for a residential home. We also have a thicker or bigger system that actually applies to commercial properties that can actually double, like for example, restaurants that can double their their sales in any given night because they have more available seating that are drip dry.
In about like 2 weeks or so, we'll dive into the whole commercial awning situation.
Does that mean I get to come back?
You do get to come back, and you get to talk commercial awnings, especially.
You'll be a recurring guest.
Woo! Yeah, so we'll talk commercial awnings, and I know exactly which project we can. I already started thinking, so stay tuned. We'll let you know when JC comes back. But yeah, go ahead, Vita.
Okay, so the pergola part of it, or the stationary frame part of it, is that part of the product, or did the customer have that already?
No, it's all in one. That's the beautiful part about it. And it's designed to actually fit the space. So in here, if you zoom in, you're going to see that, which if you look closely, you can see that to maximize the space of the deck, we actually put the posts on the outside by using deck extenders. In other words, that the posts don't actually land on the deck and inhibit or take away usable space. So they're sitting on the outside of the fence line, so to speak, and actually give you the cover the entire deck in its entirety.
Very nice. And where is the motor on this exactly?
On this system, it's a two-base system. The motor is directly in the middle against the wall. And this comes with a protective hood as well. So when the fabric is completely retracted against the building, it is protected from the elements and from the environment.
And is the motor like a tubular motor, and it's inside that cassette and it's protected?
Yeah, Somfy motor as well.
Yep, and the remote looks like this too, right? Yeah.
So on awnings, the motor is never exposed or outside.
No.
It's always inside the tube, so it's protected from the elements.
It's just like a motorized roller shade. It's always going to be in the tube, so it is protected from the elements there. I had a comment. Oh. For this system here, JC, are there gutters available?
Great question. So the infrastructure itself has integrated gutter and downspouts. So on this house, you can see the hill kind of goes to the left. If I remember correctly, we actually pitched this slightly to the left to direct all the water that collects onto the surface of the awning that goes into the infrastructure where the gutters are, leading it to the left to the downspouts, and then taking it out to that hillside of the house. So there is no waterfall effect. So with a typical conventional retractable awning that we mentioned before, it is not waterproof. It is a canvas, so it does saturate with water. But for a light rain, you're more than happy to have that system out. The problem is that you're going to have that little bit of a waterfall where the water goes. In this scenario, you eliminate that because of the integrated gutters and downspouts.
Okay, and so GC, right now, actually, you and I have this potential project of an existing pergola and potentially adding some sort of awning to an existing structure. So I know this specific picture is not it, but talk to us hypothetically how that would work.
So in that scenario, something that already has something that's already there. Some people love the wooden look of a pergola, but then they realize that they would rather have it be better of a sun shelter and or better of a rain shelter. Now with anything that in this level of retractable, everything has to be square or rectangle because it moves on tracks. So you have to adapt whatever you have to accommodate that scenario. But you can have systems that don't have posts because the pergola in and of itself create your posts and actually sit it on top. We have a good project where we're doing a pitched system on a big, I think the pergola goes 26 feet by 15 feet out. So it's not to get too personal, but the lady that lives there doesn't want any sun because she had a problem with skin cancer. So we're able to give her back her deck, so to speak. She hasn't been on it for 5 years, and this is a way to then reintroduce her to her outside living. Exactly.
That's really great. And so one last question about the pergola type awnings. They, if I'm understanding this correctly, they don't roll back. They actually fold back, kind of like a Roman shade would.
Exactly. So the fabric used here is a lot thicker than the Sombrella fabric. And that's what makes it non-porous. So it actually is too big to actually fit on a roller tube. So it actually closes in with guide rails. So every 2.5 feet, and it kind of just drapes underneath and closes like a horizontal run.
If you go back to that first picture, you could almost kind of see it. You see here where it almost looks like it's folded underneath when you're looking closer to the house. So yeah, to that point, it's like a Roman shade.
Okay. Now, I could be asking you another million questions, but I'm not sure if we can stay here another 2 hours.
We could actually just do a whole episode just on the Genius, so we could also do that. Yeah, we will. We will.
So much to talk about. We're never out of ideas, right, Kim?
Nope, not at all.
All right, what do we have here?
So here we have a similar to your point before, an existing structure that actually doesn't provide what people thought it would. Nothing against pergolas, but you have to know exactly what you're getting with a pergola. It's just a fixed object that when the sun moves, it doesn't. So you're going to get more sun in between depending on what time you're out there. This is an under pergola canopy, and there's many, many options on this type of system. This is decorative and sun shelter. So you would never sit underneath this system in the rain.
No.
But we do have an option for having a second layered fabric on top of this that is waterproof. Now, these systems don't have their own gutters, so you will have to pitch it in a direction where you don't mind the waterfall being on one side of the pergola versus the other. But you do have the aesthetics of this one and the ability to make it waterproof as well. But if you only want the aesthetics and the sun blocking, you could do that too.
It almost reminds me of like a resort when you're at a cabana at a resort, you know. So if you want to feel like you're at a cabana at a resort this summer, give us a call and this is the way to go.
And so, JC, if the pergola's roof is straight, would you still pitch the awning a certain way so that the water can escape?
So in this scenario, no. This is just for sun. If we did the double layer for the under pergola system, you would have one side, say, be 2 inches from the pergola and the other side maybe 6 inches. So you definitely ultimately want, for a double layer system, you want a very high ceiling to your pergola because you don't want it to actually then feel claustrophobic. So, 8 to 9, better even 10 feet high would work perfectly for this. If it's just for sun, though, the height requirement isn't as severe.
Fascinating. Okay, this is a very interesting project.
Yes, this was a project for a customer that this is their pizza oven in their backyard. And they wanted to be able
because why not?
They wanted to have the flexibility of being under their pizza oven and being in the shade when they were cooking. And so they don't only use it just for pizza, they use it for other things. But so they wanted shade protection. And I believe this one also gives a little bit of rain protection too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is a stationary awning. It's welded aluminum covered in fabric. But you'll notice immediately that there's a higher degree of pitch in this system than you would find in a retractable or in any other system we've covered so far. And it is that pitch that you find in stationary awnings, why we have a stationary awning out front of our building, while it's very popular to have in commercial sites as well. You do it residentially because the pitch is what is actually not allowing the water to saturate in the canvas itself.
Very interesting. And I see that the shade moves kind of like around that pizza oven depending on where the sun is at the top.
And it's a good example of what we mean by custom. So if you design it, we can build it. And especially if it's not exactly square with stationary awnings, you can actually fill in the gap. Like the pergola system that we were talking about before, it will have triangles because it's kind of an arched system. So we need to add squares to it. So by adding a stationary triangle to it, we fill the gaps and move forward that way.
Fascinating. JC, how many years of experience do you have in awnings?
Good enough to hold on to, right? Oh, sorry. Now you're making me show my age now.
No, I did not mean to do that. I was just trying to highlight how knowledgeable one needs to be in order to be able to really install and and execute projects like these. But I think the important point that we're trying to make, Kim and I here, is that between both of our companies in at least this geographical area, you definitely have reliable and experienced partners to execute your projects for you. And so as a designer, the only thing you need to kind of know and do is recognize the opportunity that that an awning is a good idea, that it can be part of your design scope, and present it to the customer as a possibility. And between both of our companies, we can ask you the right questions and take care of the execution and the installation, estimating, walking you through the options, and all the rest.
Yeah, and I mean, especially if you're going and taking that extra step of designing the, picking out the patio furniture, and if it's umbrella fabric that you're putting on the furniture, there are ways to coordinate the awnings to that. We actually had one customer one time where we made placemats for her out of the awning fabric because she wanted to have placemats that matched her awning. So there are, I mean, we could there's a lot that we can do when it comes to the outside to really make it feel like, super custom.
And to have something you can say you had your personal touch on.
Yeah. So there's different ways to do it.
Definitely. Okay, what do we have here, guys? This is a wintry wonderland. It feels like,
yeah.
At least.
So Vin, our boss, always says the best way to stop heat and sun from getting inside the house is to stop it before it hits the window. So you have a lot of windows that are, star rated and argon gas, double pane, all that stuff. But even the best windows will let heat and light into your space. So these are stationary awnings that we put on the outside of buildings to prevent that entirely. Because if you are west facing, some rooms you just don't go into at 3, 4, 5 p.m. And this is a way to actually curb that effect by having a constant shade on the outside of those problem rooms.
So these are stationary awnings. They don't move, they don't go, they're just staying there to not let the heat inside the house, essentially.
Oh, and or a lot of people put them shade as well, but a lot of people put them on their side door or on their kitchen door, so that if you do come in that way, like in my house, I haven't used the front door since I moved in because I always use the kitchen door, and to have one there at a good enough projection when I'm fumbling with my keys or bringing in groceries, at least it gives me some protection from the elements, specifically rain.
So that's actually an alternative to a stationary canopy that you would hire a general contractor or a builder to do over your side door or front door.
Right.
Yeah.
And have you ever done these over a front door, JC?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, there's even one, and this is kind of just like a little preview. This episode of Awnings is kind of, we're just letting you know what's available and what's out there, but we will do one that's like stationary window awnings because there's a bunch of different products that we can show you and really dive into. The Genius awning will get, its own little episode. So please stay tuned.
The idea is there's a lot of opportunity in awnings, and that's what we're really trying to highlight for the interior designers. And for the homeowners, in case you're watching, please know there's lots of options and possibilities for you that are available in order to give you that shading at the window and also protect you from the heat. Okay, and our last picture here.
Oh, yes.
So these are the drop shades. So the most popular colors in this are typically black or white. And this is actually to then finish off the room. So you can actually either have an overhanging deck or a system like this with a roof, or you can attach these to the Genius we mentioned before because it has its own infrastructure. And what this does is eliminates the glare. So like that rudimentary project we had earlier with the curtain on the side, this is its big daddy, so to speak. You can actually set up all 4 sides to do kind of a mosquito protecting, a bug protecting, but it's primarily used to diffuse the sun. So with this model here, you're looking at, it's a charcoal color. I think that's about a 5% opacity. So you would still see through it. You would see the orb of the sun, but not the blinding rays, almost like putting on a pair of sunglasses.
These are just like the way you would do solar screen shades on the interior. This is a way to address this is an exterior solar screen shade. So this is expanding that portion of your patio or of your deck to do that.
And then with this scenario or these systems, we do multi-channel remotes, which I'm sure are very, very prone on the inside of the house as well. But this one can then, if you had a Genius, you can control the Genius and you can control the screens on one remote.
And Alicia too, we will do an event for deck outdoor privacy screens. Yes, so this is just a little preview of what we can do with screens and all that good stuff. So we will do another episode on really giving a deep dive into this. But this is something that we, the solar screen, so like with the drop balance, is that an option to do a solar screen material on a drop balance?
Yes.
On a retractable awning? Yes.
On a retractable awning, you could do a screen or the same fabric that you chose for the awning, and retract it or lower it to 4 or 5 feet that you would need to cover the sun. For this one, you can actually, for these systems, you can actually have much bigger expanses.
Mm-hmm.
So 10-foot drops, 15 feet wide, like it'll cover entire bays of your patio.
And what's occurring to me as we're talking about this is that these shades, they're just like the shades we're using on the inside. Mm-hmm. We have to make sure that we have the fascia. We have to make sure that we have the right hardware, of course, but this may be some of the easiest ways to venture from the indoors to the outdoors. You know, if awnings is a bit of a kind of like step out of the comfort zone, taking the exact same shades that we're using on the inside and taking them outside to a deck, or I've done a project very similar to this that was kind of a roof top deck area, very easy to do.
And we also have, we do it a lot too, where we have clients that, you know, they don't want a window treatment on the inside of the house for whatever reason that it is. They have, you know, we had a client that had 5 doors in her living room and she didn't want to put any kind of drape or anything, but she felt like, you know, the sun was there. So we just did exterior solar screens on the outside of the house to give her sun protection for the inside of the house. So when they went down and we put them right under the gutter, I wish I had a picture of it, but we put them right under the gutter. And this way, when she wanted the protection, she put it down. And then when it was up, it just looked like it was a system, an extension of the gutter underneath. And nothing got deflected on the inside. And it was like the best of both worlds.
Smart. So many options.
Yeah. Alrighty, everyone. So that concludes our little look, our little peek under the awning, because we usually say behind the curtain. So we'll say under the awning. Under the awning. If we have our free goodie about window treatment. So if you still want to, you know, get your window treatment knowledge, you can head on over to WindowWorks and get Architectural Digest Isn't Coming, the 10 things you need to know about window treatments. Luann wrote this ebook a couple years ago, so it has a really a lot of great tips on there.
Awesome. And for us, for Vitalia Inc., the free goodie that we have for you is a lookbook that I created called 37.5 Window Treatment Design Ideas for you to use immediately, swipe, steal, and make your own on your next design project. So definitely head on over to vitaliainc.com and grab yours today.
All right. And if you want to keep up with Luann, make sure you follow her on Instagram at Luann Nigara and on her website, luannnigara.com. You can listen to all the episodes of the podcast there. If you ever want to search a guest, you can put in the search toolbar or follow her on any platform that you hear your podcast.
And of course, myself and Luann also have a series on her podcast called WTF, which was the original WTF before we started this WTF Live. So make sure to tune in on a Friday. There's at least one Friday a month where Luann and I get together and we talk about window treatments and all things good and bad and everything in between. And actually, our next episode I think is airing next Friday, and it will be all about pricing and value and what window treatments should cost and how much to expect to pay for the window treatments on the retail side. So it's going to be a really powerful and very educational and juicy episode, so make sure to tune into that.
And if you want to keep up with everything that we are doing here at WindowWorks, or if you have any window treatment or awning questions, you can follow us on Instagram at WindowWorks, or you can send us a message on Facebook at the WindowWorks Facebook page, or you can always shoot us an email at info@windowworksnj.com, and we can help you out that way as well.
And for Vitalia Inc. side, if you have a project that you would like support on, we would love to be of value to you. We would love to be that support company and person for you. Please reach out to us at vitaliainc.com or to me personally. And also make sure to follow us on Instagram. We're very active there. Showing the different possibilities for window treatments, highlighting our favorite designs, as well as design firms. So make sure to follow us on Instagram at Vitalia_Inc.
And I just want to say, any last words, JC?
No, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, and hopefully we can make your outdoor living space that much more comfortable.
Yeah, no, and this is the first, but definitely not the last that you're going to see of JC, everyone out there in the Window Treatment Friday land. So today was really just like our first episode that Vita and I did about 2-3 months ago. I don't even remember now. But when we just kind of gave you a little broad overview of window treatment. So today was just kind of just scratching the surface a little bit on awning. So we're really going to do like a deep dive on individual scenarios, stationary awnings, Genius, the privacy screens and whatnot. So if you have any topics or questions that you would like us to cover on future episodes, please let us know so we can sit there and put it in the queue and have it ready for you.
Awesome. JC, thank you so much for joining us and for answering my questions, even though I have a million more. And Kim, it's always lovely to see you, and I will see you guys next Friday.
All right. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.